If you're looking for a used vehicle in the Chicagoland area, North Naperville Autos is your one-stop shop for quality pre-owned cars. Stop in and visit or browse their inventory online at www.northnapervilleautos.com. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2008 Lincoln MKZ. Up front is a 3.5 liter V6, and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this here MKZ for two reasons. First of all, I don't feature many Lincolns here on the channel. That's not out of spite or any other reason besides the fact that I don't really see much of them or get offered many of them. So we're changing that here today with the MKZ. But the second reason is the fact that this car is really well equipped. It also shares a platform with one of my favorite cars, the Mazda 6. So we'll dive into a bunch of that stuff today. But before we get on to anything else, I do have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy stickers and other merchandise when it becomes available. You can also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you'd get a video of your car just like the one you're watching now of this one. And you could read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 3.5 liter V6 under the hood. Well, that's actually an updated motor. When this car debuted in 2006, not only did it go under a different name, the Zephyr, but it also only got the 3-liter Duratec as opposed to this 3.5 liter. This particular one makes 265 horsepower, which is a pretty solid number, and something that's noteworthy is the fact that it does that on 87 octane fuel. Lincoln, being a more luxury brand, 9 times out of 10 will recommend that you use 93. Well, this car actually still uses just regular 87. So that's definitely nice to see. Like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic. I'm not really noticing any weird bumps or squeaks. It's a little hesitant to shift, but it's a pretty dated automatic at this point, so I can't really fault it too hard. Last but not least about the drivetrain that I found very interesting was the fact that this is actually all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive V6 sedans in this era were not very common, let alone from Lincoln. Kind of an interesting combo there, and definitely a feature that drew me towards this car. So if you wanted all-wheel drive in a V6 sedan, well, here's the MKZ for you. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. On the left is my tachometer. In the center is my fuel and coolant temperature, and off to the right is my speedometer. I also do get a little information gauge down below, giving me some very, very basic info, but it's helpful nevertheless. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my cruise control options, and off to the right, I have my volume, skip track, media, and phone options. The overall look and feel of the steering wheel is pretty dated, and it hasn't held up amazing for 92,000 miles. However, to be expected with the rest of this interior, Ford build quality at the time wasn't amazing, and so you'll see that in a couple places, and the steering wheel is definitely one of them. Off to the left, I do have a giant climate control vent. Really reminds me of the same year Mustang. And then I have my headlight switches, gauge dimmer switches, and trunk release. Moving on to the door, we do have lock and unlock. Interestingly, the handle itself says unlock on it. Kind of cool that it's sort of embossed in there. I also do get 2 memory seat options and a little speaker, which we'll talk about in a second. And then I have my power mirrors and power windows down below. Moving into the center, we have a giant speaker up on the dashboard. This is a THX certified speaker. So the speaker system in this car is THX certified, which if you don't know what THX is, if you grew up in the early 2000s, late 90s, it was that obnoxiously loud sound that would play before movies in movie theaters. Headphone users, beware now. I'm gonna play the sound, but turn it down if you're using headphones. You've been warned. So they actually did the speakers in this car. Kind of interesting there, or at least they certified them. Then I have 2 climate control vents and an analog clock. I think this analog clock looks fantastic. Very, very fitting for the inside of the Lincoln. Then we have the radio itself. So not only is it touchscreen, but it has navigation in it. Media, phone, menu, seek, tune, all of these really, really great features for the radio. And this is where you really start to notice the fantastic features of the MKZ. Then I do have some info reset buttons. This is actually for my gauge cluster screen that we talked about earlier, as well as my hazard switch and traction control off. And then we have our climate controls. Dual zone, absolutely fantastic. But not only that, I get heated and cooled seats here in the MKZ. More fantastic options that I really truly was not expecting. Then I do get a little cubby / ashtray, and then we come to the center console with the shifter. This is very plasticky and cheap, what I would expect out of a vehicle like this, however, still not amazing. And this does have the Microsoft Sync system, which is now hilariously outdated. I believe they're on the Sync 4 system, but this is just Sync. Then we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the 2008 Lincoln MKZ, and I am happy to report that it does pass. Now, there is an extra depth to the cup holders if you have taller, skinnier bottles, but my big fat, big friggin' bottle fits in the cup holder of the MKZ. Then we do get a center console with some coin holders in it. Something you don't really see much of anymore in cars is coin holders, because most people don't carry around coins anymore. And then we got to talk about the seats. Like I said, they are power, memory, heated, and cooled. Almost anything you can ask for, especially for a seat in this segment of car. The only thing I could think of that it would do more would be massage, but that really wasn't a thing in this era, especially for Lincolns. So I am pleasantly enjoying these seats. They're not sporty at all. They don't really have high bolsters, but they are comfy, and that's what I would look for in a Lincoln. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2008 Lincoln MKZ. And a couple of things to note. First of all, knees not hitting the seat in front of me. Head not hitting the ceiling. This does feel decently spacious and roomy for the size of the car. Is this as spacious and roomy as the Lincoln Continental from 1979 that I filmed? Of course not. But it still is very, very comfortable back here. I do get a center console as well with 2 cup holders. No vents. That's something I would have liked to have seen, was climate control vents for the back seats. I would have liked to have seen climate control vents for back here. Again, the handles say unlock on them, which is kind of interesting and funny, but overall, it's a pretty decent back seat. Is it as good as what Lincolns used to be? Not quite, but this also isn't the full-size Continental, so I guess that's really comparing apples to baseballs. Let's go hop around the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the MKZ, and the first thing I notice is this keyhole right here. This looks awful. That looks like it's off of the Ford Taurus Interceptor police car. Like, that looks like very utility car. I really don't like that. I don't know why they couldn't put it in the taillight or literally anywhere else, maybe down here or something like that. I think that that keyhole is really, really ugly. However, speaking of the key, we do have trunk controls, so you hit it twice and that will pop the trunk, and then you come down here and grab it and pull up. The trunk is very, very large, to be expected out of American sedans. We're not good at a whole lot of things, but we are very good at making big trunks for our cars. Nothing crazy to note. I can pull it up, and I do get a spare tire down below, jack and accessories and things like that. Nothing crazy to write home about, but still pretty decent size. I just really hate that keyhole. Really hate that keyhole. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is arguably my least favorite part of the MKZ. I think it's kind of ugly, and it's not even macaroni styling at this point. I don't get a warm, fuzzy feeling when I look at it through nostalgia. It's just ugly. It was ugly then, it's ugly now, in my opinion. Especially the back end. The front end, I can deal with. The back end is punishable by law, I feel like. And I understand Lincoln was trying to separate themselves from the Mercury Milan and Ford Fusion that this car shares a platform with. But at the end of the day, I don't think they really hit the nail on the head. I think they missed the nail by about 45 yards. But now, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a first-generation Lincoln MKZ? Well, first of all, I do want to talk about the name MKZ. The Z stands for Zephyr. So when this car first debuted, it was actually called the Lincoln Zephyr, which was a callback to the 1930s car by the same name and same company. In the mid-2000s, Lincoln was switching over to a different nomenclature for their cars. So MKZ and the MKC and MKX and all of those things. So it all fit together in a uniform naming style. So they switched it from Zephyr to MKZ. I personally think Zephyr's a cooler name, but it's neither here nor there. What do I think actually driving this car? Well, I have mixed emotions. First of all, as you'll tell from the title, this car is really, really well equipped, and I'm very, very surprised by that. I don't know why. I don't know why I have this sort of lower idea of Lincoln in my head. Maybe because the fact that this is just a rebadged, updated Ford Fusion, but I just really didn't expect this car to have as many nice features as it does. The heated and cooled seats, love it. Dual zone climate, touchscreen navigation, THX certified speakers, the analog clock, all-wheel drive, V6. Tons of really, really fantastic options that I would want in a car today. Well, Ford was doing that 15 years ago. That is pretty impressive. However, actually driving the car, this does suffer from a lot of mid-2000s Ford issues. The plastics in here feel cheap. The wood on the dash is splintered and cracked in a very odd way. The car didn't feel like it really loved the fact that it was moving. It was kind of creaking. It was a little lumpsome and laborsome. It just doesn't seem to be very happy living here now. 92,000 miles and 15 years later. It seems like it's a little bit past its prime. The dashboard is sagging almost in front of the gauges. It's tired. It's worn out. And for something with 92,000 miles, to be expected. That's a pretty high mileage car, but Toyotas, Hondas, Mazdas of the same year and the same mileage don't have nearly the issues. And so I love this car for what it was in 2008, but man, this thing is tired. And that's all I can really say. Huge thank you to North Naperville Autos for letting me take out their Lincoln MKZ. I was so excited to get behind the wheel. North Naperville Autos is absolutely awesome. They offer financing, shipping, as well as they are Carfax certified. So as long as you live in the continual 48 states, they will ship to your door if you find a vehicle from them that you like. They're absolutely awesome, and their information is up on the screen as well as linked in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.